What was the last story that we talked about? Well, Nora wasn't here. Paul said that he should have gotten her notes so that you guys would have some answer. Maybe there's somebody who can give us an answer. What was the last story? The story that ended the last session? Nobody remembers.
Can I call Nora?
Yes, please call her.
What's the story about?
An old monk?
Yes, an old monk.
Is that all? An old monk? An old monk? An old monk. Okay, we know there's an old monk. Okay.
An old monk was blind.
Who was blind? No, not really. No.
It was arrogant. He was an arrogant.
He was an arrogant? No.
I just remember a story being an arrogant, and he was healed. He was helping a woman who was blind.
Oh, you must be kidding. That was 2 years ago. That was 2 years ago. We talked about that in the Dhammapada. About the old man, about the arahant who used to be an eye doctor. That wasn't the story. Remember that story about that old man? That ophthalmologist? Who actually, the woman came to ask him to cure her eye illness. And if he cured her eye illness, then she would come and serve him together with her daughter. Remember that story from Dhammapada? You guys don't remember. I should make out some test. Really, that wasn't the story. That wasn't. Huh? The whole story. No, the whole story was the second last story. The last story was about Channa. Remember the chariot? The attendant of the Buddha. Remember, he was so arrogant. He didn't pay any. Oh, now the teacher remember. Okay, yeah, Channa, Channa. Remember? And then the Buddha said to Ananda, you should avoid him. You should kill him, right? How should he? And then Ananda said, kill him? A Buddha killing a monk? So that didn't sound right. But the Buddha said, actually, no. By ignoring him, you're actually killing the arrogance of that man. Ignoring him, outcasting him from the monastic, from the sangha. So that was the little story. Be prepared, okay? I will test you guys.
Everybody disappeared.
Well, you're welcome to disappear. That is just such a small challenge when you compare to all the vicissitudes in life. And if that test is worthwhile for you to disappear, then go ahead. I mean, liberating yourself is a big lesson. And this test is really nothing when you compare that to the vicissitudes of life that you have to go through. That's even a bigger test, isn't it? Right? And you should see the wholesome intention behind my mind. Why do I want to put a test out for you guys? Right? The wholesome intention is for you to remember the teachings, so that you could, when something happened in life and you say, oh yes, I heard this before, now I know how to deal with this. Otherwise you keep forgetting. And how are you going to learn from it, right? And you only laugh on a Tuesday night or Friday night, and then all the rest of the day you become a very sulky person because life is so difficult and I don't know how to deal with it. So but as Tan Sifu said, everybody will run away, and I'm not going to risk that chance. I want to keep you guys here. Anyway, so what's the topic now? What's the topic? Okay, our greatest teacher here. What's the topic that we have been talking on?
Well, we were talking last time about worry and doubt, I remember.
Yes.
And you were getting teased about that.
Yeah, okay, worrying and restlessness. So we have been talking about the great effort, the right effort, right? And now we are on to the third part of the skillful effort. Is right effort actually imposes this the first part is to abolish and to not allow the unwholesome states to arise. Those are the first two parts of the right skillful effort, right? And the third part is to arouse the unarisen. That means anything wholesome states which has not arisen yet, we have to arouse it to arise. Okay. So this third part about the cultivation of wholesome states, this is the first of the second part, and then there is this. This is actually endeavor to develop these wholesome states, and then the next one is to actually allow the already arisen wholesome states to become matured and flourished. Okay, so that's endeavor to allow it to mature, maintain those wholesome states. That is the last part of the right effort. Okay, so remember the right effort has four parts. First two part is dealing with unwholesome states. The last two parts are dealing with wholesome states, wholesome mental states. So what did the Buddha say about this? He said, herein the disciple rouses his will to arouse wholesome states that have not yet arisen. And he makes effort, stirs up his energy, and exerts his mind and strives on. So actually, everything is the same except here, wholesome states. In the last two, it was unwholesome states. Okay, that have not yet arisen, and he makes effort, stirs up his energy, exerts his mind, and strives and makes sure those unwholesome states don't ripen, don't develop, and don't mature. And now we're talking wholesome states. Then we stirs up our energy, we put efforts in, we exert our mind, we strive on, and make sure these wholesome states are developed and then will be maintained. Okay? So what are the wholesome states? Guess. Make a guess. Compassion, good. Kindness, yes. Is that all? Jeez, he's very pessimistic. It's like, so only two wholesome states.
Is it one of the
Giving, generosity.
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness, yes.
Is it one and the same with paramis?
Yeah.
Same.
Paramis also, yes. So don't just give me the word paramis.
Adhitana, strong determination.
Strong determination is also a wholesome state, yes. Equanimity, great. 10 paramis.
Right effort.
Right effort, that's right here. Patience. Right speech. It could be. That right speech is actually more physical. Mindfulness, great.
Tessa said something.
No, I said it whether it's patience and perseverance.
Yeah, patience and perseverance also. That's patience. 10 parami. 10 parami. 10 parami. Huh?
Generosity.
Generosity, Jaren already said that. Huh? Not in the 10 parami, but it could be a wholesome state. It's actually a behavior. Everybody's looking at me.
Loving kindness.
Yeah, compassion. What did you get if you start to become mindful?
Insight. Wisdom.
Insight, yeah. Insight. This insight is actually very crucial, right? This inner power, this inner reflective power. When you have this insight and you are equanimous, what do you get?
Peace.
Yeah, serenity, right? Serenity and insight. So simple, but yet so profound, yet so complicated. And then And then, of course, this wholesome state, what in the Buddha's teaching sense, is there is this strong mindfulness. And the strong mindfulness, there are actually 4 foundations of mindfulness. Do we all know which are the 4 foundations of mindfulness?
Body,
Feeling, body and the feeling, physical part, and Dhammas and Chitta. Yes, okay, good. So, Chitta, that means the mind. Okay? So the body, that means this physical body. The feeling, that means the physical feelings, the mental feelings. Chitta, that means the mind. And Dhamma, that means the state of the mind at that time of feeling. The state of the mind at that time with this body. So this is called the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And in Pali word is called Sati Patana. Okay? Now you nodded and smile. Now you remember. Okay. Gosh. Alright. Okay, then another wholesome state is what the Buddha said is the 8 factors of the path. Remember the 8 noble path? So what are the 8 noble paths? What are the 8 factors, please?
view,
Right view, great. Right speech, good.
Right effort.
Right effort, good.
Right understanding.
Right understanding, great.
Intention.
Right
Intention. Sammasankappa.
Sammasankappa. What did you say?
I would say right intention.
Right intention. Yeah, they already mentioned.
Concentration.
Right concentration. Right livelihood.
So you want to say right speech?
Yes. Right mindfulness. Did somebody say right mindfulness? I said right mindfulness. Okay. Oh, she did. Okay. And then one more.
Right effort. Did you say that?
Right effort. Yes. You talk about speech. You talk about livelihood. What is in between speech and livelihood? Actions. Great. Because actions come with the body, right? Physical actions, and speech is the verbal. All right? So, right thought, right view, or right intention, right speech, right actions, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. So, these are the 8 factors of the path, and the Buddha said these are all wholesome states. But, the Buddha also laid a very, very special emphasis on a set of things he called the 7 enlightenment factors, which are the real wholesome states. We call the bojjhangas in Pali. And these are actually very specific. Specific in the sense that it's actually specific, necessary to become enlightened. And also, after enlightenment, these are the contexts within that realization. Okay? So these are there before. These are necessary before enlightenment. And after enlightenment is already in there. These are the qualities when you become enlightened. So he said these are the 7 factors, the bojjhangas. Oh, strange. There should be a title to it. Okay. So what is the first bojjhanga? First is the mindfulness. Okay? So what I talked just now, the mindfulness is you are just a mere observer. But are you observing from the outside? Like a third person observing? Are you? Then it's none of your business. Why do you need to observe? Why do you observe? Why do you need to observe? You're observing from outside. That means somebody is observing you. It's none of their business. Why do they need to observe you? Is that what the Buddha wants? Is that what the Buddha taught?
So you're observing yourself from outside, is what you're asking?
Yeah. Are you an outsider?
So you're not entangled in that observation.
You know what?
Entangled in that observation, you just
No, I don't want anything about entanglements. I just wanted to ask you whether you are an outsider when you are mindful. No, yes. It has to be a no. Because if you are an outsider observing that person, then it's none of your business what that person is up to. Right? You agree? You're not standing there and look at, you know. No.
It is not your business. Yeah, true. It is the person who is doing that
Yeah.
activity that is his or her business.
So the whole mindfulness is not, like you are an outsider looking at yourself. No. A mindfulness is you are yourself looking at yourself. You get what I mean?
Observing the observer.
Yes, you are actually observing your own observer. You are your own observer. You are not from the outside. It's a very tricky thing. If you think that you are actually observing outside, it's really... A lot of students actually have that confusion when they started meditation. Is they feel that the breath is right there. Right? Then they feel that the breath is there. Or they're standing out there and then watching this body and feeling this body. No. Then why do you need to bother to feel? Because it's really none of your business to feel. You won't have anything to do with it, because if the body is painful, it's not your pain. That person, there's nothing to do with that person, that pain. And that person will not be able to feel the pain if you are an outsider, right? Agree? You all agree? If that is an outsider, how can he feel your pain? How can he know that breath is long or short? He would not be able to know. Only when you are actually observing your own breath, then you know that breath is long or short, deep or shallow, subtle or gross, right? Only if you are your own observer. So don't try to stand out and look at yourself like this. You can't. And it's not going to help. Okay? So mindfulness is you are aware of yourself right now, right here. And you can use this body, you can use this sensations, you can use the whole body, you can use the breath, you can use the mind, the thoughts, anything that you feel is useful and is beneficial for you at that particular moment of life. You cannot sort of say, oh, you always have to observe this. No, you can't. Because sometimes you need to switch to other technique in order to overcome that difficulty at that moment of development. And if you're stuck in that one technique and you don't know how to deal with it, and that technique is not helping you. For example, when you're so angry and you can hardly observe yourself, you can hardly stay on the mat, then get up and go walking. Walk a little bit and observe how does that feel when you're so angry. How does that body feel? And how are your footsteps? You're trumping like a little elephant, boom, 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 like this. But if I tell you, no, you have to sit there and just feel and observe. You can't. You wanted to kill me. Right? So you need to be very wise to switch between techniques and what to do. And you have so much anger, then you need to go back and take a deep breath and then allow this loving kindness to arise and neutralize the anger. Or you go out for a walk and let that irritation settle down. Okay? So you don't stick to just one technique all the time. It's very important to remember this. And then the second bojjhanga is the investigation of phenomena. That means you start to investigate yourself, or you start to understand through your experience what's happening around you and what's the nature of existence and everything. Okay? So Because with mindfulness, then you're able to actually start to investigate, you start to pierce, you start to go inside, you start to understand the deeper meaning within yourself. And because of this experience, then you actually apply that to look at the universe, to look at others, and you start to understand this whole thing, how it works, and what's the nature of all existence, including yourself. This is so useful because it all comes from inside. Okay? So, and energy. Of course, with mindfulness, with investigation of phenomena, you need to put in energy. Okay, these are the 7 factors. I just go quicker so I can explain it later on. The rapture. Okay, then you start to, develop this rapture, and because of these four bojjhangas already developed, then you start to become very serene and tranquil. And when you feel very serene and tranquil, the mind is so peaceful, then that concentration naturally comes in, and you start to feel the body, how does it feel, very light, and then the mind very clear. Sometimes with this deep concentration, you may be able to see, we call nimitta. Nimitta, that means the signs of concentration. The signs of concentration is sometimes you see light, sometimes you feel clouds, sometimes you see stars, all those things. And don't look for them. You can look for them. The more you look for them, the more they are away from you. Only when that mind becomes very concentrated, and then you will feel that light, glowing light, coming from afar and coming closer and closer, and it's like somebody is shining a torch on you. My students have come to ask me, have you shined a torch on me just now? I said, no, I haven't. I said, what happened? He said, oh, I saw this big light. I said, okay, you see this big light? You see this big light, so what? Go back, meditate. More. Be equanimous, right? When you see this big light and you see this big star, so what? Be equanimous. Everything goes. Okay, so we start to look at this 3 bojjhangas: mindfulness, investigation, energy. You see it all right here. Okay, so this is the development. The development of mindfulness actually clears the ground. After these unwholesome states arise. We always have these unwholesome states arise. I don't know whether you remember, I have said before, if there is any negativity arising on your mind, don't blame yourself. Don't feel guilty and saying that, oh, I'm bad, I'm really a bad guy, I'm not a good meditator. And no, don't say that to you. And actually, at that time, you should pat yourself. Wow, I must have worked hard. That's why these unwholesome things start to arise. Give yourself some encouragement. Pat yourself on the shoulders and keep on working. Because only when these unwholesome states arise that you will be able to deal with them. If they don't arise, there's no way that you'll be able to deal with them. Okay? So allow them to arise, and then you just observe like you observe in hindrance, or like you observe a restlessness, like you observe the worrying or the drowsiness. Just observe and just deal with it with all those techniques that we talked about before. And then you clear the ground, like we weed, and then the lawn looks very nice, clean and dry and green. Even wheat looks green. Right? But at least it looks very nice and clean and tidy. So, and then whenever anything arises, it allows us to catch ourselves very soon, very fast. And at any certain present moment, if we catch ourselves, if we are mindful, actually at that moment, our mind is actually very neutral. There is no bad or good. At that mind is actually very neutral. And use that neutral state of mind actually to really develop yourself and to allow this neutral state to extend and expand. You see what I mean? Do you understand what I mean? When you are very mindful, you are not reacting to whatever that's arising on this mind, whether it's wholesome or unwholesome. You don't judge, you don't analyze, you don't interpret, you don't point a finger. At that time, that mind is just observer. It's very stable and very neutral. And you just want to expand and extend that neutrality. That means you're expanding the moment of mindfulness from 1 moment to 2 moments, from 2 moments to 3, and so on and so forth. Get it? Good. You look very doubtful.
See, there are a series of very short moments.
Yes, they are very fast, like very, very
So
fast.
you can be aware of a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Repetitively.
Repetitively. Okay, so that means you expand. So that actually at that time you actually, when you're mindful, you actually stop that repetitive pattern of reaction with negativity. You may sort of like start to react, and you catch yourself. You draw yourself back, and you stop reacting. And then it comes again, and you catch yourself, and then you come out. Have you experienced that? Yeah, you see, you all know what I mean. Why do you look so doubtful? That's how actually we do this. We stop the repetitive pattern of reaction. Okay, when we stop this, and this mindfulness starts to build up, you become sharper and sharper. The mind becomes sharper and sharper. And then at that time, sometimes when this negative mind stays on, and you say, hey, come on, this is ridiculous. Am I going to allow this to go on? Are you going to allow this to go on? Come on, stop it right there. Sometimes you talk to yourself like that. And you tell yourself to stop it right there. The mind sometimes needs to sort of like a little hack on the face. Okay? So you stop it. And so you go back to this state of mindfulness. Alright? So when you build up this kind of mindfulness, at any moment that you build up this kind of mindfulness, that power that you develop actually allows your mind to investigate deeper. So for those of you who have done some, Vipassana or even deep Anapana meditation, you know when you start to become very objective, and that power of mindfulness is quite strong, and you start to pierce through into your whole physical body or even into your mind, you say, wow, this is so profound. And this mind, wow, there's so much, guilt or so much fear or so much into the mind. Do you think that comes just out of a blue moon? No. It doesn't come out of a blue moon. It comes out from an investigative mind. Okay? That investigation, sometimes you have to do it proactively, especially when you're going through a very difficult period of, physical or mental challenges. You might need to do it proactively, like, okay, let me see. Let me try to dig inside and pierce inside and see what is going on. You're not trying to find an answer by analyzing and by thinking. No, you're just trying to observe what's going on. For example, if you have a pain somewhere, this pain has been bothering you for years, and then come on, okay, that's it. I'm going to look at you and see how can I deal with you in a better way, rather than try to fight the pain all the time, or try to hate the pain and want it to go away. And you try to go inside and say, oh, this is the pain. Okay. Where does it end? Where does it go? How does it happen? And how is it like? Then you start to pierce and understand that pain is actually constantly changing. And constantly changing, and also is actually affects the state of your mind. And the state of your mind actually affects the extent of your pain. So you start to find that relationship between the mind and the body because of this investigation. And you start to understand, oh, I am the only one who is going to make myself happy. Or I'm the only one who is going to make myself feel miserable. I am the big chief. I am the director. Then you, because of that investigative power that you develop through mindfulness. Okay? Of course, in order to investigate, one needs energy. And this energy is this we call initially this inceptive energy. That means where one shakes off those drowsiness and tiredness and say, come on, this is my time for meditation. No matter how tired I am, no matter how drowsy I feel, I need to try. You keep taking deep breath and wake yourself up. And you even have to stand up. If you need, if the drowsiness is so overpowering, you just stand up. Okay, I see. Remember the old monk sitting next to the cliff? Now you remember. So many times I've told this story. Now you remember. Sit next to the cliff and see you still fall asleep. And he fell and he broke his back. And never fall asleep again. Right? So you need to have this energy to actually shake off that drowsiness, that tiredness that actually are hindrances to your practice. And you arouse this enthusiasm. Yes, sometimes it could be quite boring, just sitting there and observing that breath and sitting there feeling this body and changing. So what? It's so boring because this human mind doesn't like simplicity. It always likes complications. The more complicated, it seems to be more interesting. Right? Yeah, this young man agreed. It's true. So sometimes when you sit there and observe the breath, and it's so dry, so boring. What's there to feel about the breath? The breath is just the breath, right? Even though it keeps on changing, you don't find it very clear, you don't find it very interesting. So you need to arouse some enthusiasm from you and say, oh, come on, the breath is changing. There must be something in the breath that makes it my breath. And why is this breath so important in my life? Because without that breath, sorry, you're dead. So don't blame the breath. Don't tell the breath that you are too dry. Okay, it will kick you. It will revenge on you because you don't treasure your breath. And because you don't treasure your breath, that means you're not paying attention to your life right now, right here. Okay? The breath is the only thing that keeps you going. Without that breath, even no matter how healthy your organs are, no matter how well off you are, no matter how knowledgeable you are, without that breath, you can't go on. Okay? That's why in hospital, the first thing the doctors have to do is to keep the patient breathe. That's the thing. Why do you think that they want to intubate them? Because they need to keep them breathe. Okay? So that breath is very precious. We are very well off to have that breath. Okay? That's the most precious things in life. And the second thing, we need the energy because we need to persevere. As the Buddha said, to be mindful and to maintain that mindfulness and to be able to fight your own enemy, one has to be very strong. A weak person cannot do that. A weak person cannot sort of face themselves and tell themselves is that, no, I'm going to go on. No matter how difficult it is, I'm going to go on. As I always see, from a lot of students say, okay, I will go on a regular practice when I retire. I will do more volunteer work when I have more time. I will do such and such when I am such and such. Yes, you can wait. Go wait. and see how long your life will last. I'm not cursing you. I'm not cursing you. I'm just telling you my own experience. If I say 24 years ago, oh, I'm going to wait until I retire, then I'll become a nun, I won't be sitting here right now. Right? And I'll tell myself 24 years ago, okay, I'm going to make more money so that I'll be more, independent, and I'll be more secure than before I became a nun. Then you won't see me here. Just like this. You just have to pick up and go. But you have to persevere with that wholesome mental state. You just have to push on. When you push on enough, naturally you can overcome that unwholesome state. Because you build up so much power. Right? Yes?
I noticed from my own experience, until I started sitting regularly 2 hours a day, you're sort of bouncing back and forth.
Yeah.
You experience a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but after 2 hours a day for a short period or a period of time, that's when you see the initial progress and what this is really doing. And until then, it's not going to happen.
No. That's why I always tell the students who come to meditation is, you persevere, you push through the first year. Every 2 hours. 2 hours for the first year. You push through the whole life. You won't give it up anymore. Persevere, that means you persevere in the practice. That's very, very important. Okay? It doesn't matter where you go, but at least you have to persevere in that practice. And when you persevere, and when this energy reaching that peak, it reaches this stage of invincibility, where it really drives this contemplation forward enough that actually those hindrances became powerless. Okay? You become invincible, powerful being. That's this hindrances cannot be any hindrance at all. All right? So these are the three bojjhangas, and these four bojjhangas is rapture. When you reach that kind of invincibility, then you develop this rapture, this really pleasurable interest that there is a kind of joy inside in you. Then you start to, oh, this is so nice, and then you start to get more and more interest with the object of meditation. The object of meditation could change all the time. Sometimes it could be the sensation, but sometimes it could be the breath. But the understanding doesn't change. Why do you need to use that object? It's because you want to understand the nature of existence of that object. It's not that object. It's the nature of existence of that object. That's the thing. Okay? We are just using the object to experience that existence. And that existence is anicca. And also, it arises because of conditions and causes, right? So there is this dependent origination in there. So you understand that. But at the end, you let go. You let go because you know it arises because of all these conditions. It passes because of all these conditions. And there is no inherent existence in any object. Right? Yes. Good. At least you agree. So at that time, these waves of bliss run through this whole body, run through this whole mind. The mind glows with joy, and confidence intensifies. And when you reach that state, when you push through perseverance, you push through, you become invincible, and then you start to actually experience this joy. Very rarely at this stage people will give up, unless they start to fall into this craving mode that they want something else. Then they will start to give up, because that joy is this. I remember Ajahn Brahm said, that joy is actually much better than sex. That's what he said. Didn't he say that? Yeah, I think he said that. So, that's what it is. And so when you reach this stage and then you go further, that tranquility will just come when this rapture actually subsides and you become very quiet. Because sometimes with this rapture, there might have some restlessness come up. Okay? You remember the restlessness is the last thing that you have to sort of remove in order to get to the fourth stage of enlightenment. So with rapture, there is, because of this tremendous bliss coming through, then sometimes this mind becomes so, restless and is so excited, and at that time, that very strong mind need to push you a little bit further. Push you a bit further and overcome this excitement. And with further practices, you start to reach this tranquility. Okay, when this tranquility, you brings this really calm, quietness, lightness, very light. The body becomes very light. The mind becomes very light and bright and quiet. This quietness cannot be compared with any quietness that you can experience in the forest or inside the ocean or wherever. I don't know whether you have experienced that before in your meditation. I'm sure some of you have. That quietness is so quiet, but yet there's no echo. In the forest, sometimes it's so quiet, but you can hear that there's an echo, right? But this quietness doesn't have much echo. It's so quiet, and this mind is so... And you're not scared. You're not scared. Actually, at that time, there's such a peace of mind inside, right? You experienced that before. And then, at this time, then with this quietness, it brings a deep concentration. With this very deep concentration, as I said just now, you may experience this nimitta, that sign of concentration. And because of the mind being so concentrated and so observant, and that actually equanimity will start to sit in. And equanimity, that means you just, and very calm and peaceful observer. You don't react because you understand this nature of existence of whatever that comes up. It will go, it will come, it will go, it will come. And your mind becomes very stable and calm, and you don't have any aversion or any craving. You're just like somebody sitting on a carriage, and the horse is going very steady, very stable on the path. Just so stable and walking towards that direction, just one direction, not being to the right or left, just stable, and you just sit there and relax and enjoy the ride. That's all you have to do. It's a wonderful moment, but don't start craving for it, all right? So, and then the last bit of the right effort is you maintain the arisen wholesome states, that whatever that has arisen already, you endeavor to actually to maintain it. And in here the Buddha said, hearing the disciple rouses his will to maintain the wholesome things that have already arisen and not to allow them to disappear. Okay? Does that mean that you try to grasp them with it? No. At the back of your mind, you're constantly aware that this wholesome state is there, and I am just doing my best, and this is staying on. So it's constantly reminding yourself how to actually allow this to mature, and you bring them to growth, to maturity and to full protection of development. And he makes effort, stirs up his energy, exerts his mind, and drives on. So it is actually an effort to keep your mind in that favorable object of concentration, which has already arisen. And this actually further progresses to bring a lot of stability and gradually bring a lot of strength until one day you may start to reach that state of realization. And that state of realization doesn't just happen like, boom, I'm realized, I'm liberated. No, you can have little moments of glimpse of awareness and awakening. Okay? Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. So like this, okay? Alright? So look at the big picture. The Buddha said, look at the big picture. The aunt of the Buddha, Pajapati Gautami, actually went to the Buddha and asked him, how can I actually maintain my mind and to cultivate the wholesome state? And the Buddha said, whatever you know from your own experience, and this is actually common sense. And these are actually good qualities in yourself, and then you should try to persevere. And he said there are these things the things that you do, you should actually lead to the following result. Whatever that you practice, that you should lead to this result is any practice that allow you to lead to dispassion, not passion. Okay? That means the more you practice, the more you will actually start to release yourself from craving of anything. And people will say, okay, I have passion for my career. That means if I practice long enough, then I will have this passion for my career? No, you will have compassion for your career. Passion, that means you are actually expecting reward from your career. Compassion, that means you're not expecting any reward from your career. You just do whatever that you're best to do. It makes a big difference, right? Yeah? And you disentangle yourself. You don't entangle more. Okay, if you are walking on the right path, doing the right thing and sensible thing, okay, you won't get yourself so entangled. So for anybody who claim themselves to be a practitioner, if you check yourself, if you're constantly sulky, you constantly have a long face, not happy, there's something wrong with your practice. Because the Buddha said, for a practitioner who walks on the path, the joy has to come. Joy has to come. You will be a happier and happier person. If you are not, then there's something wrong. Is there something wrong with the Dhamma? Is there something wrong with the teachings? Is there something wrong with the path? Shouldn't be, right? There's something wrong with you. So, what's wrong? You have to check yourself. You have to check yourself. Where does your unhappiness come from? And a lot of times we see that this unhappiness is because you make me unhappy. Because of you make me unhappy. It's always outside that object that make you unhappy. And you check yourself. Is really that object make you unhappy? Or there is in the back of your mind, there's something that you react to that object that makes you unhappy, or makes you angry, or makes you complain, or makes you whatever. So the Buddhist teachings saying that we walk on the path properly, practice properly with common sense, we will eventually liberate ourselves, release ourselves from sufferings, and be a happy person. Happiness right here, happiness after, and happiness in the future, right? That's what he said in Dhammapada, remember? The happiness follows you like your own shadow. Remember? Yes, remember. And if you are unhappy, if you are always constantly unhappy, you're constantly pointing fingers at others, the unhappiness follows you like the cart of the following the footprints of the ox. Remember that? Yeah. So, okay. So disentanglement. If you are a practitioner, you see how much you have disentangled yourself or how much you have entangled yourself. Check yourself. Look at the big picture. And dispersion of causes of suffering is not accumulation. Well, I've talked about that just now, right? The causes of suffering, have you actually removed more or you actually have gathered more? If you have gathered more, that means you're going down the wrong avenue. And you start to want less and less, not wanting more and more. Yes, you can be wanting more and more time to practice. Right? And then contentment and not discontent. You're very happy with whatever that you have, wherever you are. And people ask me, how can you travel like that? I said, I don't travel, the plane travel me. The plane take me over there, then I get off the plane, then I do my thing, and the plane take me back home, then I stay. I am so content with whatever that I need to do. Yes, the body gets tired. I go to bed, if I can. If I can't, I don't complain. Oh, I need to finish this, then I go to bed. And I lie on the bed, I'm so grateful. Oh, I can lie on my bed and rest a little bit more. I'm content because I have this great opportunity to serve. I'm given the chance to serve. So I seldom complain about this traveling. Sometimes I get a little bit tired and that's all. I seldom complain. Sometimes I complain because I'm a human being, but it's okay. I come to my awareness sooner, faster. So peaceful solitude, and you actually enjoy, and you don't start to actually think, oh, I don't like this loneliness, and you find, oh, but I said a few sessions before, loneliness is bound to come in at one stage or another, okay? Loneliness is bound to come in. Don't get carried away. Don't get caught up by that loneliness feeling. Because only when you start to overcome that loneliness, then you will go into another stage. Okay? All right? So peaceful solitude and effort, not laziness. So when you start to think, okay, maybe I'll take a day off, meditation and not doing my work, that is lazy. That is not effort, okay? And being easily supportable and not fussy and not demanding. You become an easier person to get along with. You won't be a very difficult person to get along with. And you just see things, oh yes, because, difficult, they have difficult time and that's why they have a lot of these things and blah, 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 blah. And you don't demand too much. You are not fussy about others, you're not fussy about yourself, and you easily support others, you easily support yourself. And that's what the Buddha actually advised to the ants. If you go on the right path, putting your right effort in, all these results bound to come. Okay? So don't forget about the big picture and get caught up in just the interesting teachings. Put the teachings into practice. Doing what is needed in order to break away from this old habit pattern is actually not trying to escape from the reality. Okay? Some of the practitioners I've met before said, oh, only if I can go and escape into the mountain. So only if I can go and find a cave in the mountain, then I'll be very peaceful. Sorry, that's not the right practice. No. The Buddha said that you have to be in the mundane world to liberate yourself from the mundane world. Yeah? Okay. So escaping is actually a deteriorating state of worry and sorrows, which may actually eventually become a misery and bring more suffering than liberation. All right? So we finish with right effort eventually. Okay.
Can
Yes.
I ask you a question about the 7 factors? Of
The Bojjhangas? Yeah.
It's not the steps, right? Those 7. It's not like
No.
you have to meet the first
No,
step
no,
and
no.
then you go on to
No,
the
no,
second
no.
step.
It could happen
And-
simultaneously.
Or,
Yeah.
or you could be feeling rapture and not like realizing that you need to investigate.
Yes, yes.
So it can happen. Those are not steps. Those are just.
Those are just context.
Yeah.
Those are just the factors. But in order to have rapture, you already have an investigative mind. You don't need to intentionally go and investigate. That when you're observing and mindful of what is happening, and you're just keeping that mindfulness there, and actually at the back of the mind, you're already investigating. You're already like trying to understand what is going on, and eventually you will get to that rapture and concentration.
Through my experiences, so sometimes it just seems like the times when you have more energy,
Yes.
and then you don't get the other concentration on. Like it's just kind of randomly.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's not like a step that you go through into.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. You can't go through like step 1, step 2, step 3. No. But these 7 factors are all mixed together. It could happen in one go that 7 factors may come together, or simultaneously you may be working with 1 or 2 factors at the same time. You got a glimpse of it. Okay. Yes, Sue.
Well, just in your day-to-day practice,
Yes.
it can be difficult to do the meditation, 2 hours of meditation a day. But if you're trying to be mindful throughout your day, like all the time, is that 2 hours a day sort of necessary to progress on this path?
Yes, because why? The meditation, the mindfulness that you develop on the mat, when you have your eyes open, half of it is gone. Half of it is gone. So the mindfulness that you developed, like with eyes open, and when you go to bed, half of that strength is gone when you fall asleep. You know what I mean? So that's why the sitting meditation is so important. Yeah.
Plus, I think sitting in meditation, you're observing the mental content at its root, as opposed to mindfulness through the day, which is probably not going to the root level.
I couldn't say that. I cannot completely agree with that. Sometimes you could touch the root too. It could happen, but it's very difficult because when you're throughout the whole day you are busy doing chores and all that. That mindfulness is actually very shallow. It's not deep enough. Okay, that's why all the ancient teachers and the Buddha recommend that when the Buddha during the old days after he went out for alms, he come back and wash his feet. And then he stayed there, and he stayed on that seat for the whole day. Why did he before his enlightenment, after he took a bath in the Ganges and after he took that porridge, and then he sat down and said, "I won't leave this seat until I get enlightenment." That is symbolic of how important that is to actually sit. Why didn't he go out and walk? I won't stop walking until I become enlightened. There was one monk actually walk, and he said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm going to walk until I get enlightened." He said, "You are stupid. That is not the path." Okay? So walking meditation is one way, but in order to actually do a very, very deep walking meditation, you need to be very, very mindful on the seat. Okay? Sue? Yeah.
I think I don't want to add words or to anything, but with perseverance, I think patience
Oh yeah,
is a component of it.
definitely.
It has to be, or it's not going to work.
Yeah. Remember the one-day course? At the end of the one-day course, I always say 5 P's. The 5th P, what is the 5th P? Patience, practice, perseverance, persistence, and no. The 5th P has got 5 P's in it. Patience, perseverance, practice. Right? So the 5th P has actually got 5 P's in it. So that's patience is actually one very important thing. Without that patience, you cannot persist and persevere. All right? Persevere in your practice.